What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Week 12 fantasy football, talking some injuries. And we're not talking about food comas from Thanksgiving, Ethan. We got some more injuries to talk about. And what's weird is the list is getting longer. And the list is supposed to get shorter, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's going to just keep getting longer and longer and longer. And I think that's good for me. That's good job security.
Job security. Yep. Yeah, because
Job
I don't think
security.
we're going to have a shortage of injuries anytime soon. In fact, we got to start it off with a couple of moment of silences. You want to go ahead and do the honors?
Oh gosh, we need to take a moment of silence here. First off, I know this is no longer vogue because we're so late in the week, but Joe Burrow, ACL, MCL tear with additional damage. And we'll get to that this offseason, what that means for him. But sadly, this year is over for Joe Burrow, done for the year, potentially part of next season as well. Devastating for a guy who was really balling out. I mean, really impressive rookie season for Joe Burrow. Really kind of silenced the critics that said that was kind of a one-year thing at LSU. He showed that he is a legit quarterback, and sadly, that season ends early with this ACL injury. So get some F's in the chat for Joe Burrow. Next up, another one not quite as fantasy relevant, but still a moment of silence for sexy Rexy Burkhead, also going down with an ACL tear this week, also done for the year. So let's get some comments in the chat, appreciating those guys for what they've done for our fantasy teams, for our entertainment this season. Get them some love. And let's get on to the newest segment of the injury show.
Oh, well, you got a new segment you want to introduce to the people, do you?
A brand new segment, Jake.
Okay,
Brand new. It's called Get Out of Here.
Get out of here.
We're so far in the week, we actually have official ruled out players. So I figured we just throw them all in here, let everybody know that these guys are already ruled out for the week. Get them out of your lineups, get them out of your life. Don't drop them, but just know that they're probably not playing this week.
Yeah, you just don't want them for week 12. That's about it. After that, we'll reevaluate. But for week 12, who do we got?
Week 12, first up, we got Todd Gurley. He's dealing with a knee sprain. He has already been ruled out. We know that he's had knee issues in the past. This is a wear and tear issue. This is something that we talked about earlier this year, that the problem with Todd Gurley's knee condition is not necessarily that it's going to affect him early. It's going to affect him as the season goes on. So Todd Gurley already out this week. Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, technically J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram could, now that the game has been moved back to Tuesday, could potentially come in, but it's still highly unlikely. They're dealing with COVID, all three of those guys, more than likely not going to play. And I won't say it's because they're terrified of my undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. John Brown also ruled out. He's dealing with a foot sprain. He's been dealing with foot ankle issues all year. Not surprised there. DJ Chark has been dealing with a rib injury all year. He has been ruled out as well. He's got a rib fracture and a contusion, so he is taking a week off. So just know all of those guys likely not playing. There's no way I'm playing any of the Ravens players, knowing that more than likely they're playing on Tuesday and they're probably not going to make it. So get those guys out of your lineup and just, find a backup because you've got a little bit of time before you need to.
A little bit of time, and I'll see a lot of people on Twitter saying, oh, hurry up and go grab Brian Hill. I mean, yeah, I don't mind it if you're that desperate, but with no bye weeks this week, hoping you have better options, but it all just depends on what you had on your roster. So yeah, because this is a later episode due to the Thanksgiving holiday, now we get some ruled out players. So, okay, the new segment, Get Out of Here. If they're ruled out at the time of recording, we'll throw them into it, Ethan. Great idea. But now it's time to get into the meat and taters, or the turkey and taters, if you want to, for this week. Let's talk about our big Hittas, some of the bigger names, and who we're kind of worried about maybe possibly here for week 12. First one being Julio Jones. Does he play or not?
Julio Jones is dealing with a hamstring injury. Remember, he actually missed a few games earlier this year. He had with the same type of injury. He has not practiced as of Friday. Good chance he misses this week against the Raiders. Normally, I would say this benefits a guy like Hayden Hurst, but he's actually dealing with his own ankle injury and hasn't been practicing either. Plus, he laid a huge donut on us last week. So not trusting Hayden Hurst. I guess you're going with Calvin Ridley and the Raiders defense, because it looks like this is going to be a game where Matt Ryan is not really dealing with much that he can work with.
Yeah, I mean, usually you typically see it, right? No Julio, Matt Ryan kind of struggles. No Julio, no Hurst possibly, no Todd Gurley. That could be an absolute disaster for Matt Ryan. So yeah, Falcons a little bit banged up, I guess you could say right now. What about another Raven? I mean, we just talked about, Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram. But what about Mark Andrews?
Andrews is dealing with a thigh contusion. He was limited in practice this week. I still think he manages to play in this game because it's been pushed back to Tuesday. Again, it's really about how risk averse you are. If you don't have a backup option for Andrews, you're really playing that, hoping that he plays. Again, even without Lamar Jackson, I think he remains a solid tight end one option. He's just the guy. I mean, he scores fantasy points. So you have to trust Andrews, even though it's not a great matchup, even though there's no Lamar Jackson. But just know there is a small chance that he doesn't play.
Maybe you go out there, and if you have a lower end spot on your bench, you pick up Nick Boyle or something just in case, if you really want to start Mark Andrews in case he's ruled out. What about this one's a little bit head scratching. We talked about it last week. I know on the running back video about how just maybe the injury to Joe Mixon is worse than originally thought, and now it seems it is.
Definitely is. Late last week, he gets placed on IR. He's been dealing with this midfoot sprain, and we talked about it for weeks. Midfoot sprains are not to be played around with. This is a little bit surprising to me just because he has been ruled out for multiple weeks already, and now they're placing him on IR. You're looking at a 3-week miss for Joe Mixon. Gio Bernard, we'll talk about him a little bit later, but just know that Gio will be starting for the time being. There's a good chance this is the last time we see Joe Mixon this season. So just kind of be aware that you can stash him on IR, but I would not be banking on him returning in time for your fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, not at this point. They're not going to have a whole lot to play for, especially with no Joe Burrow. What about one of our man crushes over here, Josh Jacobs?
Jacobs has popped up on the injury report. He's dealing with kind of a hip injury. There's not really much out on this yet. This was kind of a late season or late week ad for Josh Jacobs. He has been limited this week, but honestly, it's kind of his MO right now. His play style lends to a lot of nagging issues. He's a little wrecking ball, and he tends to pick up these little, ticky-tack injuries as the weeks go on. So far, he's been able to play through all of them. He is tough as nails, so I do expect him to do the same this week and still play. I'm still pretty confident in starting him. Again, the Falcons are in trouble this week. They're going to really have a rough time, and I think Josh Jacobs is going to put it to him.
Do you think that he comes in like a wrecking ball?
Sure.
I mean, you called him a wrecking ball earlier. I had planned in my head the whole time I was going to sing a line from it. That was it.
It was a beautiful line.
Okay, good. That's all I got. All right, let's move on to some quick guys here, some quick hitters. We got Christian McCaffrey up first. All of a sudden, some reports are popping up that maybe,
not probably not. He's dealing with the shoulder sprain. He hasn't been ruled out yet, so that's that kind of like, well, but you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
But the team wasn't optimistic. The coach wasn't optimistic this week in interviews that he would play. I think it's pretty safe to say they're going to wait until after next week's bye to bring Christian McCaffrey back. It's just one of those, I call this kind of a no-brain decision. You kind of just give him another 2 weeks because he's a superstar and just hope that he can come back. Again, the team's not really playing for a whole lot. There's still kind of an outside chance. They haven't been ruled out of the playoffs. But again, I think they're going to take it easy with Christian McCaffrey.
What about his quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater?
Bridgewater is dealing with an MCL sprain. A surprise here, but Bridgewater is actually going to return this week. I thought they were going to play it safe with him too, but it looks like he's good to go. I do expect his mobility to still be a little bit limited because of that knee injury, but I do think he's still in that QB2 category. Kind of a shame, honestly. I was pretty impressed with how well PJ Walker played coming off the bench last week. I wanted to see a little bit more just to kind of see what that guy has, but we're not going to see it. It looks like Teddy B's coming back.
Yeah, as soon as I watched that game last week, I was like, maybe this is what we need to make sure, Teddy sits another week, because PJ Walker didn't play too bad, and it was exciting to watch him spread the ball around, but nope. 2020 says, have Teddy back. Here you go.
True.
What about, this one could be a little spicy, Ethan. This one I know you're looking at, Raheem Mostert, since you traded for him and he got hurt.
Yeah, this one's been bugging me for a while. He's dealing with this high ankle sprain. He was on IR. Kyle Shanahan actually said that he expected Mostert to be back this week, and he has been designated a return. That's good, but there's still no official word as of this recording that he's going to play this week. It does look promising, but there's no official word as of us recording this. If he does play, I think that he's startable as a solid RB2, potentially with that big play upside. Raheem Mostert is one of the best big play running backs in the league right now. So if he's playing, slide him in as that RB2. If not, more than likely coming back next week.
Yeah, and he's getting close regardless. What about Chris Carson, another guy been hurted for a while? Is he coming back?
Carson's dealing with that midfoot sprain. Pete Carroll actually said that he expected Carson back this week. That was last week, though. Still no surefire knowledge that he's going to be ready. He has gotten in limited practice, so that's a good sign. And I think there's a reasonable chance that he plays, but we need to watch this one pretty close. We need that confirmation that he's for sure back. I think he's close, but again, these teams are kind of wishy-washy with these foot sprains. So it could be one more week. He could play. I'd say right now, 50-50.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too, where the play of Carlos Hyde last week may have allowed them another week if they want to, rest him to make sure he's 100% because Carlos Hyde played great. Here we go, talking about Gio Bernard now. You mentioned him earlier when we were talking about Joe Mixon. What's up with Gio?
Gio's been dealing with a concussion. He's still in the concussion protocol, but was able to get a limited practice in. It looks like he's going to be able to play this week. I think he's startable again as a pass catch and RB2. Solid option if you've got one of these other guys that's still kind of wishy-washy. You've got a chance to play Gio pretty confidently.
What about Phillip Rivers? I mean, he doesn't have a groin strain, right? His wife's going to be pissed if he's got a groin strain.
No, he does not. He stubbed his big toe, basically. He's dealing with a toe sprain. He was limited all week. He got hurt in the game on Sunday, but was able to come back and play. The expectation is that he'll play. And normally I would warn you that this would affect his mobility, but let's be honest. Phillip Rivers isn't going to get you anything on the ground anyway.
He's not mobile. More than likely, he just stepped on one of his kids' Legos, and it really, really hurt. What about a younger quarterback with no kids? What about Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, Tua is dealing with a thumb sprain, jam, however you want to call it. It's a sprain, but technically it's a jam. He was throwing the football in practice and hit his hand on the helmet. Interestingly enough, he did this and broke his finger while he was at Alabama. So this is not the first time that Tua has had issues with hitting helmets while he's throwing the football. Kind of an interesting factoid, but there is a chance that this could play a role if the team decides to stick with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Don't forget, Tua got benched last week. So could this be the thing that pushes the team over the edge and says, you know what, we're going to go with Fitzpatrick. We're going to let Tua heal up.
Yeah, and quite possibly could be the case. Why risk it any further? Especially with a banged-up running game. We already know there's no Salvin Ahmed this week. But what about Myles Gaskin?
Gaskin returning from that MCL tear. He was activated off the IR, but was in a non-contact jersey early in the week. That doesn't necessarily rule him out of the game, but it does indicate that they plan on taking precautions with him. They're not rushing him back. I'd say with that in mind, there's a chance that he plays, but more than likely he does not. And we have to wait another week for Gaskin.
What about another running back that a lot of people are paying attention to super close? It's Austin Eckler. I mean, he goes on his Twitch channel and says he's coming back. He basically calls his own shots. He's out there squatting 400 pounds. I mean, he says he's 100% ready to go. But does it make any sense for them to bring him back this week?
I don't know if it does. Again, way back when he had a hamstring strain on October 4th. So we're dealing with almost 8 weeks since that injury. He's been on IRs ever since. Technically, he hasn't been activated off the IR as of recording this. But if the team activates him, there's a good chance that they will play him immediately because he's had all this time for rehab. I still think next week makes the most sense for Eckler. But now that I've said that, I'm sure he's going to start. And I just want to thank all of you because I want him back.
Yeah, I definitely want him back. I mean, add Austin Eckler to that offense with Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert's ceiling gets even higher, which is already great. Yeah, definitely looking forward to Austin Eckler coming back. What about a wide receiver now, another rookie, Jerry Jeudy?
Judy's dealing with an ankle sprain. He missed practice on Thursday, and the team actually didn't practice at all on Friday. So even though it said he was limited, he didn't practice. Judy has been banged up all season, but he did manage to still play in all of the team's games. I think he's a game time decision, but he ultimately plays.
Yep. And what about MVS? I mean, he needs to come back out and rebound after last week, right?
Yeah, he had a rough week. He's dealing with an Achilles strain right now. Brutal fumble in overtime last week. Now he isn't practicing with an Achilles injury. I'd avoid him if I thought he was going to play, which I don't. I think he's going to miss with this injury. But if he does, don't forget Aaron Rodgers tends to hold grudges. He tends to punish receivers who make mistakes. Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan, both become intriguing options for fantasy if MVS is completely ruled out. But let's be honest, I don't think that Rodgers is going to be throwing MVS the ball this week.
Yeah, I mean, in a tough matchup going up against Chicago, it's probably going to be a lot of Devontae Adams anyway. What about another big-name wide receiver, though, Michael Thomas of New Orleans?
Thomas has been limited this week. He's still dealing with the lingering effects of that high ankle sprain from earlier this year. We talk about this, about how these high ankle sprains tend to affect players long after they manage to return. I expect Michael Thomas to play. This is just regular load management for him.
Yeah, and it's great because, I mean, we saw him really featured in the offense with Taysom Hill under center. I mean, Taysom Hill came out, didn't look half bad as a quarterback, but he really focused in on Michael Thomas quite a bit. So, yeah, he definitely needs to have him out there. And those were a lot of the bigger names, Ethan, that have popped up. There's a lot of names on injury reports all over the place, though, for almost every NFL team at this point of some serious fantasy viable guys. But if you have other questions on players out there, fellas, make sure you put it down below in the comment section. We'll do our best to, try to update them throughout the week, even though the week is almost over. The live show will be tonight, Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. If anything news happens wise during the day today, we'll let you know Saturday night tonight here on the live show. So make sure you tune into that. Ethan, your job is secure. You have plenty of injuries to talk about. At this point, we're just hoping for no major injuries because we're heading into the home stretch. We got the fantasy playoffs right around the corner, and we need to keep our studs healthy.
Yeah, we do. And this is the time of the year.
Yeah.
An injury now is basically affecting your fantasy playoffs regardless of what happens. So we're hoping for everybody to stay healthy. We're hoping for all our studs to stay healthy. And we're hoping that you've been following this channel and that you're heading to the fantasy playoffs. That's the biggest thing. That's why we're here. We're here for chips, man.
That's right. So that's what it's all about. In fact, maybe you're already looking forward to your 2021 ship to win it. Don't forget, over on our website, thefantasyheadliners.com, you can pre-order our 2021 draft guide right now. And because it's a Black Friday sale, you get it for 40% off. You pay like $12 for this thing, which is absolutely crazy for like 600 pages of 2021 fantasy football material. So make sure, head over there after this video, get yourself pre-ordered for next year, and you will be set and good to go. Ethan, I appreciate it once again. We will be here next week. And hey, we appreciate all the support on the channel. Do us a favor, though. Hit the like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you haven't, why haven't you? I mean, this is the place to be all year long. So for Ethan and for myself, Jake, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. And we'll talk to you later.